Okay, we can go forward.
Okay, thank you. So did you have, I'm sorry, I was distracted over there. Do you have something more that you want to say or report?
No.
No, all right. Is any board member have any questions or comments? So then I believe this is before us for final approval of your application. Is there any motion with that, with respect to
I would
that?
like to move to approve the site plan submittal PLPC 2023-004 504 Broadway.
Is there approval? Second?
I second it.
Tony? Discussion? Do we need to call individual or just for all in favor?
All in favor is fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries, so your application is approved. Congratulations.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Next item, PLPC 2024-0024, 230 Second Street.
Yeah, you just go to the troyny.gov, our planning board website. Join the Zoom meeting and share your screen.
You try to see that mic is turned on. On the bottom.
Very bottom. Yep.
Good evening. My name is Barb Nelson. I'm logging into the system here. So that I can present you project proposed at 230. Oh, I'm connected already. City of Troy Guest. Okay.
Yeah, that works.
I guess I've been here before. Official website. Planning. Board.
Yeah, you got it there.
Join the meeting.
Just the agenda.
Launch the meeting. Not joining. Okay. And then I have to project.
You would just do share screen.
Oh, share screen.
Not to let you in the room though.
I see.
Are you
Join.
waiting? Wait for the host to, there you are.
Join. Okay. Share screen. Hmm. I don't need computer audio, correct? I'll
No.
get feedback for that. And just share screen on. Oh, okay, that's easy. All right. Again. Okay. First, back here. Share screen. What happened to share screen? There we are. Share screen. don't see it. Just do that screen.
We always get one of these a year. They're the technical difficulty ones.
Yep,
There you go.
all right. Yay, okay, now I just need to make
Yeah.
it,
Nate, you're magic, man.
that's my man Nate. Okay. How do I, here we go. There we are. Okay, thank you. Barb Nelson, 37 Bow Avenue, Troy, also the director of TAP Incorporated, doing business at 210 River Street. TAP is involved as developer in this particular project. It's a pretty new role for us. But we have, all the pieces have kind of fallen in place, and we're doing, how do I advance this now? Nate? Not seeing, oh, there we go. There we go. We're good. We're good. Thank you, Nate. All right, we are applying for financing from New York State through the Affordable Home Ownership Program to build 30 new homes in condominium configuration at Adler Place, which is just a block south of Washington Park. Some really sticky keys here. We have a great, come on. This is the lot area. TAP owned for many, many years, maybe 30 years now, the building called School 10, that's 20 units of moderate income rental housing. We own Leslie's Garden, and we owned the parking lot. We have purchased 232nd Street. That's the site that was St. Jean Baptiste. I don't speak French, but the building came down. Prior to its demolition, neighbors were concerned about what a developer might build there. And we started doing some community planning and visioning, and then found when the land became available, it was affordable, and we all decided, why don't we just try to do this ourselves? We have also recently purchased the smaller building, the little commercial mixed-use building at 222 Second Street. So you see some little diagrams of the infill volume that is available to us. What we're proposing are two principal buildings on one lot. One of our first orders of business is to combine two of the lots that we, and actually Nate's got that in more detail on his civil site drawings, but we have to, you see the two blue properties there, that's actually listed as one tax map number. So we first need to subdivide that blue property so that we have one tax map property on one side of the alley and one on the other. And then we have to combine the blue and the red together to have a site where we can build two buildings. So this is the configuration. You'll see a building along the alley, Franklin Street, and a building along Second Street. The buildings have individual walk-up apartments. There's no elevator, there's no double-loaded corridor. And although some entrances are on Second Street, everyone has an entrance on the alley. I'm sorry, on Adler Place. We're calling this Adler Place, the courtyard in the middle. Here's a elevation on Second Street. The primary concern of the neighborhood was that the new construction here be appropriate in this is not historic district. We're just a block away. We're just on the edge of Adams Street. So this is the elevation on Second Street, individual stoops to those apartments, and then the elevation on the alley where we have brought parking off the alley and tucked it under the back of building F, as we call it, for Franklin. Our floor plans, you're welcome to have information on, but I won't go into detail. Here's the view from within the courtyard. So looking east is toward the alley side. Nope, looking, these are reversed. That top one is looking west toward Second Street. Both of these blocks of buildings have an entrance, a passageway, so that you can come from the street. If your entrance is from the courtyard and you park on the street, you can come through that little arched gated area there and come into the courtyard. And this one is lower one, building F is actually looking east toward up the hill toward Prospect Park. And every apartment has either a roof deck or a balcony or a little courtyard of its own. And here's just that same view into the courtyard. We intend to have these buildings certified passive house, which is sort of the next level of LEED construction in terms of healthy materials and low carbon and all electric. So we're looking for help from NYSERDA as well. One of the buildings will have solar panels on it. The other one will have roof decks. We preserve the little garden, Leslie's Garden. Leslie Adler was an employee of TAP for many years and a state employee and a great advocate for affordable housing. These will be available to families at 80% of AMI, area median income, which I don't have these numbers memorized, but for a single person, I believe it's around $66,000. If you make less than that, you can purchase one of these. We have a lot of hurdles to jump with the Attorney General, getting the condominium corporation set up and approved, and then the marketing. We're hoping to start construction this summer. That would be nice, like June. We have financing approvals to get through at the state. So lots of hurdles. And now I know why developers get developer fees. It's a lot of work. So I'm going to actually let Nate take you through the actual civil and site drawings. Was there any questions here? First, let me get that. I'll stop share first so you don't have to see all my stuff. And then go up. Yeah, these are your drawings. These drawings are great. I am. Do you want to do it direct or just do it right here? Oh, are you in the Zoom?
Yeah. I can go.
Okay, he's already in the Zoom.
Hello, everyone. I'm gonna just get going with the technical part and get signed in here and we'll be going. So it's just easier on my screen. I have like kind of the Microsoft suite so I can just circle things and make it a little bit more navigable for everyone. All right. So you join the meeting, bam.
We're just looking for a completeness review tonight. We'll be at the zoning board on January 8th for that setback variance. But we also, the subdivision and the lot line adjustment are planning board.
That's
You see me? All right, thank you. Okay, cool. And I'll just share my screen. Oh. Okay. Let me minimize everything here. And let me make this full screen. Cool. Okay, so Hello, everyone. My name is Nathaniel Gooden, a PE. I'm a principal at Caesar Engineering, DPC, and I am acting as a civil engineer, civil site engineer for Adler Place on behalf of TAP Inc. With Barb Nelson here, who is a sponsor. So we have come up with the civil site plan for the site. And also we have been working with a surveyor to outline the subdivision actions for the site as well, which I do want to talk to the board about in this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a brief overview. I know that you have these materials available to you, but I will just really highlight some of the key parts for this site plan. Okay, so going here, you just see the overall site. Before you saw the perspective view of the site in relation to Second Street and Adams Street and Franklin. With that, what you'll notice is that we have two principal buildings on the site and a courtyard in between, as Barb mentioned. So with that being said, here you can see some of the proposed landscaping. We are proposing trees throughout the site and keeping the vegetation in Leslie's Garden. We want to have a nice flow into the new courtyard for the residents, and also as a nice aesthetic piece coming off of Adams Street. So you'll notice that here there's a technical aspects which you'll see, as far as the dimensioning. You can go through that at your leisure. One thing I want to highlight on this particularly is what we do have here, which may have been in the staff report, is that we have entrances in these locations. So you can enter via gate from Second Street, such as this is Second Street right here, and you can enter via Franklin, right? So that's just something to keep in mind as far as access. And then you can also enter through here. So there's another gate right here. So we have a few gates around the property for residents to come in and out, and there will be controlled access with the intercoms and so on. So there is access throughout, and there's also another gate here at Leslie's Garden. This side right here, what is just noted is that this whole site is going to be elevated due to the flood overlay. It's going to be at a finished floor elevation of 27.75 feet. So what that means is coming up from the street itself, if you kind of look at some of the spot elevations here, we're at 22 feet. This whole area is in the flood risk overlay. If you guys are familiar with Troy, just the nature of how things are set. So with that being said, the courtyard and the buildings will be elevated. And when Barb showed you those elevations, you saw the steps up to the residence entrances, but also there was a tiered step, which I'll go back down to our courtyard here. You can see that there are tiered steps and walkways going up into the alley area. And so that is just showing that there is an elevation change. And these areas, we have steps, and then we also have a lift that will be utilized for ADA access, as well as a sloped walk that can go into the courtyard. So on this side over here, this will be a concrete retaining wall. Currently on this side of the property is vacant. It is right now, this is like a gravel drive right here. And then here's a garden, but it will be basically kind of a concrete retaining wall faced, to add some kind of, aesthetic feature with a gate on top. So we won't be kind of looking down into the neighbors' activities or so, though there isn't really a building here or anything like that. So just something to keep in mind as we kind of conform with the new standard for flood protection. Moving along, I just want to highlight just some things that are going on in the site. As you may have known with the history of Troy, we have an existing parking area that's going to be demolished, and we have some sidewalks that are going to be demolished. It's in our demolition plan. We also have St. Jean Church that was there previously, but what will be happening is that the foundation of the church is still there, and so we will be doing some selective demolition of that. That's part of the construction portion of this build, and we will be getting a geotechnical engineer out on site to evaluate the soil properties. So just keeping that in mind, if there's any questions about St. Jean Church and so on, we have that covered, as well as we did have an environmental consultant go out there before and just marked some things. So we're just kind of tracking what's going on. This is a grading plan of the site. Let me just zoom out here. So what we're doing with the grading, like I said before, just to briefly touch on it, is we're elevating the site. And what that will provide us is that flood protection, but also it will provide us the ability to control our drainage. So with that being said, our drainage plan is going to look as such, where this is what we have templated. Just to actually cover the impervious surface coverage, I think this was a question that was brought up in the staff report. We're actually at, when all things are considered here, we are actually at 62% of lot coverage. This is going to be updated in the plan. It's not completely up to date. This is just a snippet, but we're at 62% of impervious surface coverage. Now, this may look as if we are completely impervious here, but what I want to highlight is that everything that is not, most of the areas that are not the building footprints are going to be pervious pavers. So I'm just kind of outlining here what that means. If you can see here in blue, let me just try to make that a little bigger. So again, this area over here, this section here, we have the concrete ramps, but otherwise all this is, we're proposing permeable pavers, which allows infiltration into the soil, as well as grassed areas that you can see throughout. So that actually allows us to reduce our impervious coverage for the site. So just to keep that in mind when you look at this, and that is noted on the plan, we will be updating that percentage breakout for our next submission. So going back to the stormwater overlay, how we have stormwater being collected and managed is that we are going to have all of our roof runoff going to a Caltech underground stormwater infiltration system, and it may be Caltech, may be another manufacturer. And then what that will do is that we have designed for the 1 hour design, the 24-hour design storm, and we have our some of our preliminary calculations over here in our WQV. You know, we know we're not required to capture and treat all of the runoff, right? We're not doing an over an acre disturbance. This is not a SWIP. This is not breaking the SWIP threshold, but you know, in consideration of the impervious areas that we do have, and also being good neighbors, and to, you know, being a good spirit with Troy, we are going to collect that runoff from the roof for that 24-hour design storm, and we're going to be using underground infiltration systems. Now, in a very heavy rain event, what we will have is an overflow to the City of Troy stormwater system, just like any other property in the city. So you can see that layout here. This is the planning for that system. And then we will, with construction details, we'll get that going at the building department as far as like specific elevations and details that we're using. Some of the details are actually included in this plan set, but I'm just showing you kind of how we are capturing stormwater on the site. This is next is the hardscape plan, really important plan here. This is highlighting in that yellow kind of or opaque area, as I mentioned before. We have these permeable pavers, which I mentioned. We have the Leslie's Garden, which is going to remain, right, which is a grassed area generally. And then we have these entrances, which we talked about. So things to note was we have our parking areas. We're going to have 2 ADA accessible parking spaces with a shared access aisle in between them right here. And we have that lift right here, right? And then the other thing is that we have refuge. We also have refuge storage, which I think was a comment, but it is actually on the plan, and we'll try to highlight it even more. There is going to be a fenced dumpster enclosure area here on Franklin Street. So what that means is as residents come out, they can come out and they can go in to drop off their refuge here. So it's going to be kind of almost taking up one parking spot in a sense. So that they will not have to be walking a walk off site. They can do it directly in the building footprint is where we'll have our trash bins. The next item just to highlight is that the sidewalk. So sidewalk is going to be kind of altered as we do construction. obviously. So we are proposing some planters for trees, for street trees along Second Street. Then we are also planning for some redevelopment here to allow fire truck access by Franklin Street and Adams Street. So you'll notice that we are actually cutting back on this property to allow fire truck access. We did confer with the fire department, and this is what was this was something that they were amenable to. And we have then since complied. So we have some access for them if they need to come in and drop a ladder or to get to the stage. There is going to be some room for them. So just pointing that out over here again. All right. This is our erosion and sediment control plan. Just generally with that, we're going to have a fence. We're going to have a stabilized construction and an entrance. It's going to move around on site, but just, generally keeping that in mind that we don't want to be spilling silt and other construction debris over the site, similar to other stuff that goes on. This is just a utility plan, pretty straightforward. You can take a look at your leisure. Generally, what we will be having is that we're going to be using city water for all of our uses, and we're going to be tying into the sewage system. And with that, what we have allowed it's actually more so for our benefit, is that a lot of the utilities are going to be running under the main corridors. So it's actually easier to access it in case there's a break in the main or water line or so on. So it actually is a good thing for the city too, just in case something erupts. We're not evacuating residents in the middle of the night. We can go in through a public kind of a semi-public right-of-way access area and start digging and figuring what's going on. So something to take a look at just for your leisure. And then this is just a lighting plan. This is just a basic overlay of how we're doing lighting. One thing I'll just mention is that we don't have any foot candles or anything that yet. We just want to show this and talk about this a little bit. Our general idea, keeping and considering, like, for example, dark sky principles, is that the lights will be inside, like be controllable by the homeowners association, and things like the parking area will be reflecting back on the building. I'll have Barb speak to that here in a minute, but basically we're trying to keep lights. There's a certain type of feature where they're kind of angled down. So you're not like looking at a bulb, you're basically looking at kind of a dome of light shining down. So what we want to do is we want to improve this plan. We're going to show some of the foot candles, but we're trying to limit that spillage onto other parts of the property and the area. One notable feature is that we'll have up tree lighting. So like, for example, if you're in the courtyard, you kind of see a nice, beautifully lit tree, which I think will be a nice aesthetic for the neighborhood. Barb, do you want to talk about anything about lighting?
I could just refer really quickly to the staff
Sure.
report. You don't have to have it here. Well, actually, you all have copies.
Yes.
So.
Oh, yeah.
Right, so we have met for a workshop with the planning code and code enforcement staff, gathered their input. We've met with the fire department, with Jared, and got his take on how to approach the building. We need to sit with the county and 911 to establish all the addresses for first responders, so it all makes sense. That's on our list before the next meeting. On the last page of your little handout that we have, there's just a little diagram showing, that lighting. There was concern in the staff report about, are we lighting up the alleys, light going to be shining and across the alley. What we can do is set the lighting in such a fashion that it's shining back at that, and it can be motion sensor. It can be, you can do so much with lighting now. You can tone it down to a real, call it a nightlight level. Let's see. We will be replacing the curbs all along Second Street, wherever they are less than 4 inches. Over the years, city paves more and more asphalt, and then we're left with curbs that don't curb. So we'll be reusing those granite curbs elsewhere in the site, maybe in the courtyard. There was a question about snow storage, and actually, because the parking is covered, there really is no snow plowing to be done on the site. So I've given you on the second page sort of a diagram of what someone with a snow blower would expect to do in a bad snowstorm. So the snow can be, can be accumulated on the green areas, but we would make sure that everything is clear and de-iced. And these things will be managed by the homeowner association. And they will hire a property manager, and it'll be all set forth what that property manager is responsible for in terms of maintenance. Anything else I should hit here specifically, Eric? All of the gates will have intercom access, so you'll be buzzed in. There's also a room for packages, right? So you'll come in the corridor off Second Street, which is quite generous, well lit. It'll have the mailboxes in it, 30 mailboxes. It'll also have a room where FedEx and Amazon can leave packages for the owners. Yeah, we'll have some benches and some trash receptacles, and yeah, the whole concept is this courtyard living, and spilling out onto Adams Street there, and we're excited. We've got a lot of interest already, and we hope we'll have your interest and your approval as well. Any questions?
I said, Barb, I couldn't tell from the elevations. I didn't know that the parking under these buildings?
Just one row of parking. Off the out. 13 spaces. The most we can fit is 13 spaces. We have 30 units, but we also have street frontage pretty much
So the
half a
rest of the
block.
parking's on the street. And is no basements in this?
No
these
basements, no.
So
all flood.
your first floor is at what?
It's
is above flood?
It's a slab on grade. Yeah, it's actually a foot and a half.
27.75 is our finished floor elevation. That's what I was talking about before about
Yeah.
getting out of the flood zone. So
Yeah. Understand. yeah.
Right.
But the parking will be in the flood zone.
Yes,
So you want them
yes,
to get out.
that's allowed. That's allowed. I think what's important here is that all, wheelchair access is very easily gained on this. It's actually so gentle a slope. It's not a ramp with railings. It's really just a sloped concrete walk, but you can also park in the back and come up a little lift. We just didn't have enough distance in those dimensions to get a legal ramp slope. So we had to.
So I just saw this and it looks like it answers most of the staff report issues. Is there anything that you want to address that's not addressed here? I haven't had a chance to read on that.
I don't think so. We're just, it's helpful to have our approvals before going in for financing. And so that's why
Mhm.
we're here doing our diligence.
I could probably speak to a few things, Barb.
Sure,
Yeah.
yeah, go for it.
So just so with that, barring any questions you all may have, just thinking about logistics and the next steps for approval and strategizing here a little bit. One thing to note, as Barb mentioned originally, is the way that the lots are situated are currently, they're kind of across the street with 77 Adams Street, and they need to be subdivided and combined and conformed. So we have also submitted as a part of our package to you, the subdivision plan. So with that, what we are proposing is basically to facilitate this new lot. The lots will be split as such, as I'm showing here on my screen. So that new lot, Lot A, is where the new development will be. And basically that will be enacted by a dissection of Lot B, where Lot B was crossing the street before, but now it's going to be consolidated. We're going to have now Lot A. And then we're just going to move the lot line of Lot C down, which is another property that TAP Inc. owns. So all these lots that I'm showing here, which can be more clearly explained in the subdivision plan that you all have, is owned by TAP Inc. So it's under our control. We're not competing with any other interests. So on that note, I think this may be more of a question for Eric. You know, we are aware that there are some ZBA variances coming up with this subdivision action, and we want to be prepared for the next meeting. So we want to kind of ask the board what would be the next steps or anything else that you need from us to kind of go on to the next hearing. In particular, I believe the ZBA submission is due tomorrow for the meeting in January. So maybe we need a recommendation from the board or so. So we kind of want to get ahead of those things, as I know some deadlines are coming up.
So I think what he's referring to is whether if this board is in agreement with this proposed subdivision and lot line adjustment, that you guys would kind of either make a motion to kind of refer this applicant positively to the ZBA. I think that's what he's alluding to. Outside of that, the next thing that would be done for moving this along would be the declaration of lead agency under seeker.
So would a recommendation to the ZBA be in order at this time?
So the recommendation would be to either approve or not recommend the subdivision. And it, you know, while the ZBA is not, they're not going to review their project as a subdivision, they'll be reviewing it for the area variances that they're seeking. But, you know, what your opinion on this subdivision might be may lend a helpful hand.
So for example, the prior planning commission recommended approval of the variances that were requested by the Troy Housing Authority 2 project there.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you don't have to do it, obviously. I mean, it's just up to the board.
If it's helpful.
If you wanna-
we'll do it, right? Yeah. Okay, well, do we need to ask for public comment at some point here too?
After you determine the application status of completeness.
Okay, so is there a motion to make a recommendation to the ZBA with respect to the subdivisions?
Yes, I'd like to move to recommend to the ZBA to approve the subdivision.
Well, just to clarify, this would be a recommendation to the ZBA to approve variances based on the subdivision.
I see. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the variances to the ZBA, for the ZBA to approve the subdivision for PC 2024-0024.
Thank you, Jim. Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. Lead agencies?
The applicant has asked me to explain what the variances are. Oh, I'm happy to make mention of it. They're seeking an area variance for the accessory parking zone setbacks. And additionally, they're seeking another variance for the continuous masoned foundation that connects two principal buildings.
Yeah, it's just a comment on that. I looked through the code I saw in the staff report. Just to be clear, the buildings will.
Do they connect on a continuous foundation?
No, they're separate foundations.
Okay.
They're continuous separately. They're both continuous foundations, each one of them. So what I mean by that is like this is on its own foundation, and then this one is on its own foundation. Do you mean that they need to be joined as such? Because that doesn't.
We'll get some clarification from Corporation Council.
Yeah.
Right here.
I've seen this in the past when it comes to like, trailer homes, where we don't want, a home sitting on trailers. That's where I've seen this zoning language before. So when I saw it here, it wasn't exactly clear.
I guess the question is, if two principal buildings are allowed, then it seems they shouldn't have to be connected. That's what makes them two principal buildings, is that they have their own foundations. The other variance for the parking, because Franklin is called a street, the setback, there is a setback. Yeah, because Franklin is labeled a street on the official map, setback required, there is a 20-foot setback required before parking can be
So
introduced. So we're closer than 20 feet because we're right on the alley.
My interpretation of that, it doesn't really depend on the name of the right of way. The buildings from the backstroke, from they front on Franklin Street. And, or Franklin, whether you call it Franklin Alley or Franklin Street, you're looking for a front setback there
Right.
for the parking.
Right.
And so I think you would need it whether or not, in my opinion, right now, whether it was called Franklin Alley or Franklin Street.
Okay, so
Okay.
it's actually the fact that that building, the right of way it abuts makes it a front.
That's my interpretation. I
fine
think
too.
that's
Okay.
more consistent with the code, because I know of some houses within some residences within the city that only have an alley address. They
Mhm.
front on the alley that
Mhm.
they were built on.
That makes-
So
okay. All right, that-
as
thank you.
as for this, as for 285-41D, it says all principal buildings must be attached to a continuous permanent masonry foundation, unpierced except for required ventilation and access installed under the home. I'm not particularly pleased with the way it's written, but what I believe it means is that each principal building must be attached to a continuous unpierced foundation.
Both buildings are. And
Each one has their own
yes,
foundation,
correct?
correct?
Yes.
So then it would just be the one variance. Yeah.
Thank you.
Eric, what's the next issue to be addressed?
Given that there's a subdivision on the table, probably a declaration of lead agency.
Okay, so
I'd like to move that we declare the planning board as lead agency in this project.
second,
I'll second it.
discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. Next item,
Completeness.
completeness. So are you satisfied that the application is complete?
I think they've done extensive work here.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of faith in their abilities. Looks like it's well researched, well worked through. Very positive for the neighborhood. The only question I would have is on the corner of Second and Adams, what are you going to do with that building there?
So right now there's an occupiable unit upstairs.
Yeah.
That Corey Aldrich is moving in on
Oh, is he?
January. We'll keep that as a living unit and that may be included in the condominium. And then the first floor will be a space where any owner living in the condominium can host a party, an event. I think TAP is going to maintain ownership of that first floor as one condo unit. So it would be a program.
Would you need other approvals for that or is it existing as it is, right?
It's existing as is, but
Yeah.
it's got it and it's been empty once.
Right.
We'll probably be back for approval. for
Right.
that.
Okay, that's it.
Okay, so.
Well, I'd like to move to declare the application PLPC 2024-0024 complete.
Is there a second?
I second that motion.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. Okay. Hearing date?
Think you guys can be ready for January?
It just to clarify, the submission would be the 30th?
Yes.
Okay. And for tomorrow for the ZBA, is there any other items that we need to present? We need to do another packet for tomorrow?
For additional variances?
Well, because the ZBA submission deadline, I believe, is tomorrow. So I want to make sure that we're all set for that hearing in January.
Application was-
Yeah, yeah, then I mean, I would
Okay.
defer to Angelina, but yeah, I think you guys are your
Okay.
momentum is in the works, right?
Okay, I didn't know if we just need to submit another application. I just want to make sure.
No, if you got an application submitted, then
Okay.
that holds.
Okay.
Call Angelina tomorrow.
Yeah. You
Okay.
Just double check your situation with her, but I'm pretty sure you guys are.
So our meeting is what, January?
No, in discussions with Russ regarding the lot line adjustments, those would otherwise get to be done in-house, but it's not determined when Russ is coming back, if he's coming back, right? So we'll just bundle it here and then get it approved.
But they don't require the variance.
No, not that I'm aware of. No.
And for the subdivision plan, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move with our surveyor to start making the final plat.
Mhm.
Right, I think we talked about this at our meeting. So I didn't seem like there's comments on the subdivision or what we presented, so we're gonna start moving to prepare the final plat so that will be on the table for next meeting, correct?
If you're working with any involved agencies, could you please get me a list, any funding sources? That way I've been notice involved agencies. There has to be, I
yeah.
guess,
And we haven't made our formal application to HCR yet,
Okay.
because one of the things I want to see is your,
okay,
but I'll give you a list of who we're pursuing funding from.
perfect.
Thank you all.
Great.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Oh, do you want to
So-
schedule a hearing?
Here, yes, so the next meeting, correct? Do we have to do that by resolution?
Yes,
Is that date the 21st?
it is.
Yes.
Is there a motion to set the hearing date?
So I make a motion that we set the hearing date for January 21st, our next meeting in the new year.
Is there a
I'll
second?
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. See you next month.
And just as a reminder to the board, to make sure that next month we open public forum for comment before we give their approval.
Question, do we need to send out any notices or anything?
You?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's the next one.
Okay, the next item. PLPC 2024-0058, 3945 Congress Street. Applicant or representative?
Technically, the chair can determine the order.
Fine by me.
Just give me one moment, then I'm going to join the Zoom.
Sure.
He's doing Sage first.
58. He's going to.
Yeah, 58.
Okay. Good. All right. Good evening to the board. My name is Joe Pernicero. I will share my screen if you'll allow me, Eric.
to be able to.
Okay. Wonderful. My name is Joe Pernicero. I'm here on behalf of Redburn Development, which is the parent company behind the applicant RDC Troy Holdings. We are proposing a historic renovation of the property at 39 to 45 Congress Street. It's one building, just has two entrances. Formerly a Russell Sage dormitory. The college is selling. They no longer need it. That's been well documented in the papers. And I'll jump right into it. I'm going to give an overview of the project, answer any questions you have. We'll go from there. Just to familiarize yourself, there's a map. We're located right on Congress Street, right across from Sage Park, where the college is located, just on the fringe of the college campus, next to their former bookstore. Takes up the whole width of the block of Freer Alley to Second Street. 4-story structure with a full basement. Background, I mentioned the applicant name and the address. There's the zoning information for you, although I imagine you already have it. Our project description, it's a complete renovation of the interior into 71 market rate apartments, mostly 1-bedrooms, a few studios. We're not proposing any renovations to the exterior or the site.
What
Sim-
is a historic renovation?
We're going to access historic tax credits. The building we have submitted to SHPO and MPS. Building has been deemed historic. It was built in 1965 as Manning Hall. So we will access both state and federal historic tax credits. So all the renovation on the inside will have to comply with the standards of the interior. Everything will be submitted to SHPO and MPS, be approved by them. Put simply, the project is on the upper floors, 2 through 4. It's all existing dormitories. So we'll take 2 dorms that are connected by a common bathroom, and that'll become 1 apartment. So you'll have 1 dorm, which is, an area that will be your kitchen and living area, your bathroom that's already existing, and then the other dorm will be your bedroom with closets. So for every 2 dorms becomes 1 apartment. That's on the upper floors. On the lower floors, they were using it mostly for staff offices, some teaching space. So downstairs is more of a conventional fit up into traditional apartments.
And on the upper floor is a kitchen, a bathroom, and a bedroom, no living space? No living-
So nope. Something I'm doing here.
It might be the placement.
Lower.
Speaker. You want to pull the podium back about a foot? Try that.
That might be better.
You're safer back there too.
Nope. So there'll be a full kitchen in a small living room
In one.
in one area. Yeah, it's an open concept with your kitchen and living area, bathroom, and then bedroom. And then, as I mentioned, the history of the building. It was actually built as 2 buildings, Manning Hall and Ricketts Hall, combined long ago, and it's all 1 tax parcel. Quickly go through, I've talked about the scope of work. The building is not sprinklered currently. We'll be installing a whole new sprinkler system. We've met with the fire department, gotten their input on the project. Improvements to the roof, full construction of units on the lower level. I've mentioned the dormitories upstairs, and then we'll also have amenities such as a fitness center, game room, a bunch of bike storage. We're going to do a roof deck on the top of the building, small roof deck. There's beautiful views of downtown Troy from this building. And then as far as the site, as I mentioned, we're proposing 0 changes. The exterior of the building is in great shape. The college has done a tremendous job maintaining the masonry. There's plentiful street trees along Congress Street and Second. We're really not going to touch the outside or site at all. Just going further, a couple comments that were on the staff review. Trash will be located inside the building on the basement towards the back, and then white gloved out by a third-party service, trash and recycling. And you can see that in the back there of that. This is the basement floor plan. That back yellow room is a trash room. So a third-party company will come back in. They'll have access into the building, right down a little half set of stairs into the trash room. Parking, obviously this building is existing. It takes up the whole lot. We will not have any off-street parking. We did submit a traffic demand management plan to staff and the board that determined that there is sufficient street parking, also the State Street garage, to support our demand. A parking problem is a good problem, and we think this is the best way to push the city forward and continue development in the city. We're also going to have an abundance of bike storage inside the building. There'll be a dedicated locked bike room. We'll have an air pump in there. And then we're also looking into, for the first time, I know other developers have done it, and it's really intriguing to me, is the CDTA Universal Access Pass. So I've reached out to them and are beginning those conversations. So all the residents will be able to use the entire CDTA network. A couple other comments staff had was snow storage. Yes, go ahead.
The entire residents will be able to use what, did you say?
The entire CDTA transit network. Yep. Snow storage. Obviously, the building takes up most of the lot. So most of the snow is in the right of way. The only thing we'd really be responsible for, if I go back, there's a small emergency exit only kind of alleyway along the back. So I'm going to reach out to the college and see how they've handled it. We could certainly remove that snow if it becomes an issue. If we get a big storm where you've got 12 inches back there, that it is an emergency egress for the building. As far as the right of way, I don't know how we'd handle that. We will obviously shovel and snow blow.
It's a tricky one.
Yeah, that's what I want to talk to the college about how they've handled it in the past. But something we're working on. Trash note, again, put a note on the plan that it'll be inside the building. Signage. All of our signage will be limited to just the modern storefronts. And I have some photos of the buildings. So you've got 2 modern storefronts the college has installed in the last, I believe, 5 to 10 years. So we'll just have our signage will be limited just to those glass storefronts. There'll be no signage affixed to the building. That's Scrimshaw Health, which I'm not sure you can see it, but just above that left door, there's a Scrimshaw Health Sciences building. That's a modern sign that the school put on very recently. That will come down. But beyond that, no other signage for the building. And then, I believe you asked about a start date and, details on the purchase. Right now, we're just under contract to purchase the building. We have not closed on it yet. We intend to close on the building and begin renovations shortly into the new year. I would say hopefully as early as February, but, no later than March 2025. A few more pictures for you here. This is from Congress Street, standing right in front of Sage Park. The photo on the left there is looking south down 2nd Street. And then the photo on the right is Freer Alley looking south towards Sage Park.
Is that gated gangway?
That's the gated gangway that runs along the back of the building. It's emergency egress only. There's existing lights back there. So you won't be able to enter through there. Just in the event of emergency, residents can exit out that way.
How would they get out if it's locked?
There's a emergency egress bar on the inside, just locked from the outside.
Joe, for the record, I think I remember you saying you had some concerns about a retaining wall that's on the north side of the property.
Yeah, so it's not on our property, it's the neighbor. And we don't have to handle that here. That's something we can take up with the neighbor or, but basically on the right photo where that garage is and those 2 trash cans, the neighbor's retaining wall is leaning over into our property. Don't need to get into it here. We try the neighbor first. That's kind of a brief introduction to the project. I'm happy to answer any questions, go into detail on anything else.
I have a question about the 2nd Street side of this building. There's windows that are like the black glass windows.
Mhm.
And I think there are vents in the windows. And 1 or 2 of them might have been for laundry or whatever is venting out. You don't do any changes to that? You're not going to make any changes to that?
So I guess that technically would be maybe just the one change. The one that has a vent for the dryer, that will come out and just that single painted glass will get replaced. So that maybe is a
Is there,
exterior
can you
change.
get egress through a solid black window though? I
You-
mean, if somebody had to get out of the window and there's a fire or whatever, how do they get out through a solid black window?
So they're not all solid. There is a small panel that opens. But I believe because the building is deemed historic, you don't need that second means of egress directly out of the apartment.
I'm more concerned about safety,
I agree,
yeah,
but I don't have an
as
answer
well
for
as
you.
the
You won't-
streetscape. I mean, the streetscape, that is kind of incongruent with the rest of the street, even though you're going for historic tax credits. This is the way the building was originally built.
Sure.
Um, I'm wondering if those windows are, has anybody from the fire department looked at that?
Yeah, so I mean, there's some limitations as to what the applicant will do. If they don't want to make any changes, then as such, then it would fall under building codes review, right? So if there were concerns about fire access, fire corridors, any sort of consideration, fire suppression systems, all that's going to get reviewed once they submit their plans to the building department. But if the applicant chooses to keep the design as is, there's very little that it's historic, right? So I mean, then there's very little that they would be obligated to do unless they were obligated by the building department. Regarding the window though, so this changed, this dryer vent.
Yeah, I believe just a single occurrence. There's a existing laundry room in the basement where it does vent out that window. It's a glass block window, large glass block window with a small viewing panel that's clear glass. They've cut a hole into it and they will basically take the glass out, put plywood up, and then just vent the dryer out right into the street. That one we would just kind of take that out and replace it with a historically appropriate glass panel. Basically, it's a repair.
So just to double check, I would just check in with Angelina.
Okay.
But yeah, the fire department's viewed this. We all reviewed this in the staff meeting. So if they jumped on a concern, they would have us put it in the staff note. So just that for the record.
Are there any fire escapes on the building now?
There's no exterior fire escapes now.
Are all of the levels of the building going to have apartments? I thought you mentioned the upper levels where you said something about upper level apartments.
So all levels will have apartments. On the upper levels are where the existing dormitories are.
Yeah.
And that's just a simpler conversion. But we will be doing apartments both on the main level and then the basement level as well.
And that's where this thick pane glasses, these black,
Correct. On the first level, you have these opaque glass block windows. We've had it in several properties. We've done lots of projects in Troy and Albany. We did it's called the Kennedy Garage in downtown Albany, where all of our apartments have this kind of opaque glass. Again, the historic consultant wouldn't let us get rid of it. We asked to put in brand new windows, but they're deemed historic, so we can't do much besides clean them up. And if one is broken, we can replace it in kind, but that's about what we're limited to. It's a privacy thing, right? When somebody's walking by, you can't see inside. I believe that's why they did it in the 60s when they installed it. I'm guessing at that though.
because those wasn't those girls' dorms?
Originally, yes.
Yeah. So that would make sense
yeah.
as to why the glass was.
Some of the upper apartments I see are like 400 square feet, a little more than 400 square feet.
Yeah, the average size of apartments here is about 500 square feet. These are smaller
Do they
units.
need any kind of variance for that?
They may need, I think we talked about this.
We
right?
did, and I thought we did the calculation in the meeting that we were just kind of above that minimum based off the total square footage of the building for residential uses divided by the number of units. I can certainly call Angelina on that.
We'll need to see some numbers.
Okay.
And then definitely double check in with Angelina.
Okay.
What did you say was the average apartment size?
The average apartment size is just over 500 square feet.
Minimum, the minimum square footage is supposed to be 720, I believe, right? So if they're taking the average, the sum total of apartments and the square footage of the space of the building is their argument is that they meet the minimum criteria.
Are they including common areas and the fitness room and the square
That's a good
footage
question.
calculation?
Right. So the way, and we'll defer to you guys on this, I'll take your direction. But
Yeah,
the way-
I would calculate your living spaces and the floor square footage areas of
Okay.
those dwelling areas. And then if you still believe you have a sum total average of over 720 square feet per unit based on that square footage of floor space, then, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But we'll probably want to just reevaluate, see some numbers on that stuff. Because if you're going to require a variance, then there's a deadline that's for the January meeting that's coming up.
Tomorrow.
So definitely call Angelina in the morning
I'll get her.
and have a chat with her.
Anything further?
No, if the board has no further questions, I don't know if we can deem the application complete tonight. I would certainly appreciate that, but that's obviously up to the board.
So are there any further questions from the board?
No.
No? Okay, so do we have to do lead agency first?
Yeah, you can do any number one of the motions that you'd want to make. You'll have to determine whether or not the application is complete, whether you guys want to designate yourselves lead agency, which should probably be done first. And then if they believe they're going to be ready for a hearing, to schedule a hearing.
So first, is there a motion to declare?
I will make a motion to declare us as lead agency.
Second,
I second that.
discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries a unanimous. Next item is a determination of completeness. Is there any motion with respect to that? There was this issue about the missing complete streets form, but you submitted that now. And you did already, I think, submitted TDMP.
Mhm.
Is that correct? So are you satisfied that it's complete? Even though you just received the missing complete streets form today?
Yeah, are we able to do that if it was submitted today? Is that when that complete streets form was submitted?
It was submitted today.
I don't know that we can say it's complete then, right?
Well, I think it might be up to us if we feel that, what they submitted was sufficient. I
Mhm.
guess that maybe the argument would be that the TDMP addressed that issue. Is that?
Yeah, so, this complete streets form was mostly data collection in this instance because we're not changing the site. I apologize, it should have been submitted much earlier. Oversight on my part, but most of the information in there was included on the survey site plan in TDMP. But yes, the complete street form was submitted today.
So would you agree it's on our discretion?
You're not able to consider the form that was submitted today. However, it is in your discretion to declare whether or not the application is complete.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So is there a motion one way or the other?
Think so.
So we can't consider this complete streets form that was submitted today. So are we,
But you can consider that the information there
Application's
was
complete.
adequate
okay,
without that form, I think is what we're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
without the form, so subject. I'm
It
still
becomes a
lost.
part of the record,
Yeah,
but not for consideration tonight.
I see.
But if you think we had enough information based upon what was submitted to address that issue, then we could declare it complete. And then that document will be incorporated into the record for the future.
I'd like to move to declare it complete.
Second,
Seconded.
motion made and seconded to declare the application complete. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. So good luck there. I guess we need now to have a motion to set a hearing date. Do you think you'll be ready in January?
I think we'll be ready in January. I guess it depends on the conversation with Angelina tomorrow. We have our interpretation of the code, but that's
Well, if we set it down for the next meeting and you are not ready, then we
And-
can adjourn it, right?
And I guess if Angelina does say we need a variance, I can get the materials ready for her tomorrow.
You just need to get her an application.
Right, which is due tomorrow. So, I could probably, I have the materials to pull all that together, and then that ZBA meeting would be before your meeting.
Yep.
So then, yeah, I guess, well, it's all pending a lot of stuff, but we will be ready by January. It's, I guess, if the city meetings and everything goes our way.
Okay, is there a motion to set the
I'll
hearing? for-
move to set a hearing for January 21st for this application.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Second.
Second the
Okay,
motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Any discussion on that motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. Motion carries unanimous. See you
Thank
next
you very
month,
much.
hopefully, right?
Eric will give you and Angelina a call tomorrow.
Yes, and one other thing, just, as your designated type 1 project, we have to, fortunately, that there's 30 days in between each meeting,
Mhm.
between now and next month. We'll need to notice any involved agencies like SHPO.
Yep.
So if you could get me a list of involved agencies so that I can notice them within the next day or two, so we can meet your 30-day deadline.
Yep, you'll have it tomorrow morning.
Great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Take care. Next item is PLPC 2024-0057, 269-275 Fifth Avenue. The applicant here or anyone representing the applicant?
Good evening, board members. My name is Khalid Akhtar. I'm going to be representing Bunir LLC in this sketch plan concept. Let me just sign into Zoom. Share my screen.
This is the one where they were going to
Screen. Right. Do landscape conditions. All right, so we're proposing a multi-use building, mixed-use building, I should say. So we would have 3 retail units, 1 laundromat, and we would have 9 apartments above. So 2-story building, run along Fifth Ave, 106th. Recently, we proposed, we will need variances for this. I believe we do need 25 feet from Fifth Ave back. So I do want to submit an application to ZBA for that. We do not meet frontage for 106th and Fifth Ave. So I will also need to go to ZBA for that. So I'll just try to make this really quick and brief, since this is just a sketch plan. Basically an L-shaped mini market with 9 spots. And we wanted to just get feedback on the board members, just to see what our next steps could be. If anybody has any questions or wanna,
So you had a
Look into
previous
it.
proposal before the planning board?
yes, a few months ago, yes,
And you changed the orientation of the parking?
correct.
And what was that about?
So we had the parking in the back. Again, it would be very difficult for, future business owners to have the 2 different entrances, given the size of the 2 retail units. It would kind of be hard because we wanted to do a restaurant or a not fast food, but street food. So it'd be very difficult to orient the kitchen, or if the other, units, there was an office, so it'd be very hard to have 2 different entrances. And if parking was in the back, we would have to have customers walk all the way to the front. We also thought that was very inconvenient for the, residents of that area. So that was kind of the main reason. And
Inconvenient
They-
for the residents to access the businesses?
Correct. Yeah, so if they were parking in the back, and also it kind of made it more secure, for violence such as things like that, in that nature.
Well, anybody have questions?
So I'm a little confused. The original configuration didn't have the parking in the front? Is it?
No, it did not. It had so basically, yeah. So basically it was flipped. So if you pretty much rotate it on counterclockwise 90 degrees.
And your old plans also had it as two separate buildings, correct?
Correct. And it had a little passageway in between where
That's not on
this would be right there, which also kind of created a little dark alley spot.
Yeah.
Of course, there would have been lighting there, but still, we didn't think that was the best option.
Okay. I looked at your old environmental assessment and I looked at your old street forms. And I've noticed that on your new application, you haven't answered all of the questions that you had answered on your old applications. There's a lot of empty spots on your environmental assessment. Questions 5, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 15 and 17 have not been answered. And on your street forms, I just had a question. You're saying that there's no schools within a quarter of a mile. Isn't the middle school within a quarter of a mile? to
No,
this
there
property?
is, so I might have made a mistake on that. I
Okay.
used
yeah,
some of the previous ones, but yeah,
'cause it's only
Lansingburg
like
High
4
School,
blocks
yes.
Away, you're going 2 blocks.
Yeah, no, Lansingburg
okay.
High School is right
Okay,
down there.
So in your environmental, there's several questions that you haven't brought forward from your old application and answered those questions.
All right, so I can have all of those answers,
Okay,
or all of those questions answered for our site plan review.
okay. And also, do you have any place for snow removal?
Yes,
here.
so all of them would be on the green areas. Loads. So it'd be such as this area right here where the landscaping would be, if it's. I don't know if it's showing.
So this here would probably be.
Not showing. I'm not sure why my screen is not sharing, but. It's okay. I think I got it. But basically wherever the landscaping is would be the snow storage. Yes.
No. And all your trees in the front, are they trees or are they shrubs? on
They're
Fifth
a mix
Avenue?
of both.
Excuse me,
They're going to be a mix of both,
a mix of both.
trees and shrubs, yes.
Okay, now are there power lines on Fifth Avenue that run in front of your,
No,
they're not?
no, there are some in the alley, which
Okay.
is behind the building, but no, none in the front.
I am so against putting trees under power lines.
So I have a question. Is there a traffic light at Fifth and 106?
No, there is not. There is a stop
So you're
sign.
gonna have a
The-
curb cut that is how many feet away from 106? I
In,
mean, it's,
I go back to our site. plan.
yeah. It seems to me like if you're making a left on Fifth Avenue coming out of your parking lot,
Mhm.
there'd be a little bit of an issue there. So was there a traffic, did you do the traffic work on this yet?
I did not because this is just very vague. I just wanted to do a sketch
Okay.
concept.
Okay,
So this would all be on the site plan.
I
review.
I
see.
think there's a stop sign here, but
Right, this is close here.
yeah.
So the apartment space is going to be next to where where that retail space was? It looks like it was a laundromat or something, right?
Yeah, no, so apartment space is going to be on the second floor.
Oh,
So,
it's,
yeah, so
there's
retail
a-
units are
there's a lot next to that. Is that your lot too?
correct.
you're not doing anything with that lot space?
On which lot are you?
It's 269, I think it is. or-
Yeah, so we own 269, 271, 273, and 275.
Yeah.
So
So-
that whole,
So you're just utilizing where the old laundromat was, and what's gonna happen with the available space that's there? Are you doing it?
it's being used, the retail units right here.
Does your building take up all of the lots that you own there?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there any standard with respect to snow storage, ratio with respect to space to be plowed or anything like that? No, or-
The applicant needs to designate a snow storage area, and it can't conflict with yeah, it can't conflict with parking or maneuverability on a site.
Yeah.
So
But it
it's
just
not like
looks
they
like-
couldn't put a snow, mound in the middle of their parking lot, right? They would have to ensure that it is properly in an area that's not going to conflict with
But
accessibility.
is there
and
any
such.
requirement with respect to ratio between, say, parking space and snow storage space?
No.
So that would be adequate?
No, like a setback or something? No.
Well, no more so adequate storage for that amount of blacktop, basically.
Right, and it kind of corresponds a little bit to pervious versus impervious surface areas. You have to meet that minimum percentage of pervious surfaces so that snow can go someplace. And that's kind of like the most strict sort of technical aspect of that.
Gotcha. And then it looks like you'd be dumping your snow on your trees and your shrubbery, right?
On, not on this area. So we would have, I mean, it depends on how much snow we get
Mhm.
as well. So obviously we would use a snow blower on the streets. I mean, sidewalks, and all the snow would be plowed into the green area, which the trees are going to be enough distance away.
One more question about 271. What's going there? What's happening with that space?
So this whole lot consists of 269, 271, and 273. So basically where this retail, let me see if I can go to the site plan and you can see those lines. So if you look at this, this is 269, this dotted line right here. That's the property line for 269 between those two, and then this little rectangle over here is 271. So those two lots right there already contain most of those retail units. And then again, the laundromat that was here was 273. So it's taking up all three lot lines.
Is this all one parcel or is it,
Yeah, one parcel.
it is one parcel currently? So
Correct.
it's all adjusted.
Yes.
Where's your trash?
Trash is going to be in the back. We will have a dumpster enclosure. So we'd have private haulers come in, pull the dumpster out, dump it, and then push it back into its designated spot.
Okay, can I just say I have a problem with where that is? I mean, you're over somebody's second floor bedroom.
Yeah, I could see,
Because you're enclosing it, correct? It's just
correct.
so the whole top of it
Yes,
is
It's going to
enclosed
be-
and you have to go in and you have one dumpster for
it's gonna be,
13 units. You got 9 apartments, three businesses and a laundromat. That's enough, one dumpster?
so it's gonna be an 8-yard dumpster and it'll be picked up, 4 or 5 times a week.
Okay, but I don't think that's a very good spot for it. I
We
don't know
can-
where
we
else you
can-
can put it, but if
Yeah, we can-
if I was renting that second
Mm.
story apartment, I would have a real huge problem with dumpsters coming in, depending on what time of day it is, and you might have somebody that's working nights. That's a lot of noise.
We can take that into consideration for our site plan.
Hmm.
Now, just to bring me up to speed on where you were and now where you are today, the one big change was the apartments,
Correct.
but also was the whole configuration of the prior plan contiguous on Fifth Ave? And then
Yes,
the parking was in the rear?
correct.
Can you explain why that's changed?
We did.
Yeah,
What's
so.
different?
w- So why it's changed or what's
Yeah,
different?
I mean, so your original approval had the parking. So your whole thing, your whole building was along Fifth Ave and the
Yes.
parking was in the rear.
Yes.
And now we have parking in the front
Mhm.
along Fifth Ave and we have a curb cut next to 106th Street.
Yes.
Very close.
There,
That's,
yeah,
you know,
actually
so
this,
what's the change that caused the parking to go in front of the buildings?
so, first thing was ease of use. We talked to many of our residents, many of our neighbors there, said it was very confusing for the parking to be in the back. Also it was very, secluded area, especially if it's, adjacent to an alleyway. So the parking lot and the alleyway, we just thought it wouldn't be a good combination. We wanted to, minimize crime and kind of have it open to Fifth Ave view. So you can see the buildings, you can see that there's a laundromat. Okay, I need to stop by. Oh, they have a halal grill store. You drive by, there's parking. You can stop in really quick, grab some food, and then you can head out instead of trying to find, for say customers that are not really from the area. It was just very hard to find that parking spot since there was only one means of entrance in the back on 106th.
What about the other direction of the alley,
What do you mean?
the alley coming from the south to north?
Yeah,
You
what,
able to access it?
not from that way because we wouldn't have enough landscape if we, had enough frontage.
Just to be clear that you can approach this parcel from the south through the alley, correct?
No.
The alley
From-
goes,
yeah.
goes north to south, right? You can,
Correct.
you can access the alley from the south to this parcel.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Yes, but that's the other one.
Did you have a chance to look at the regulations in 28569 regarding parking lots on intersections?
Yeah, I saw setbacks. I didn't really see too many regulations and it was, encouraging off-street parking, which obviously already many of the residents on that area continue to do. So we were going to have on-street or off-street parking along Fifth Ave. And then 106th. Including the 9 spots that we include, that propose.
Are those 9 spots for the businesses or residences or both?
So it's for both. Yeah.
So if you have 9 residences there and 9 parking spaces and commercials, somebody's gonna be parking on the street, is that?
Yes, yeah. And not everyone's going to have a vehicle. And again, off-street parking is encouraged and, other means of transport is also encouraged. So such as we're going to have, yep, there is a bus stop along that street and you would have many, we would have 2 bike racks and then lots of pedestrians walking to and from.
Any other questions?
No questions, but I think this would be thought out a little bit more.
So that's not on for any action tonight, but
No.
I think, and I don't know how the board members feel about parking in front. It's not encouraged, it says here. Staff report says it's not encouraged, and I think it's encouraging you to do something different. I don't know how, we've not addressed this situation since this board has been assembled, so I'm not sure how they feel about that, but you might want to think about it. If there's an alternative. Okay.
Yeah, I think that, that part of it is concerning to me. Obviously, if there's studies or the transportation report might tell us more. I think you might want to work some things out with the planning department, maybe, in regard to whether you have to be on the street side for the whole facade of the building or not. You know, complete streets, is that call for that?
The complete streets form will kind of detail the conditions and maybe some of the proposals that the applicant intends to do with site. You know, this wasn't reviewed, you know, with a fine comb, you know, per se, because of the acknowledgement of the sketch plan concept, right? But we would be reviewing this for all the setback requirements, the variances,
Correct.
and the details of the site plan, you know,
So
a
what we're
little bit
doing,
more in
what we're
depth.
doing right now is you're just looking for the input on. your
On,
sketch
yes.
plan. Those are, my concerns are such.
Yeah, I'm just curious, one last thing, in its current or most recent configuration, there was parking in the front. I know exactly where this place is, and I'm just trying to understand, I guess why wouldn't we want them parking in the front when it was in its most recent form, it was being used that way?
Yeah.
What's changed? Because it doesn't look like the buildings, you're doing much.
I'm not very familiar. My understanding is this parcel is undeveloped. It's a green space, is it not?
Right now it is, but it used to be Checkerboard Plaza, and
Yeah.
actually the two curb cuts were already present,
Right.
so.
Yeah,
we were
I've
just
been there, I've
reusing
seen
that.
it, I go
Yeah.
by it.
The checkerboard was just about basically on the alley and
Right.
everything,
Right.
all the parking was in the front.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, this is entirely your guys' forum, right? But what used to exist was not what currently exists.
Right.
And there was an old zoning code and there's also a new zoning code. There were studies in the past that recommended suburban layouts to parking and development. And now there's more of an acknowledgement to reduce that type of development. So there are lots of different studies now that go into, you know, why configurations are taught, you know, by New York State planning staffs and stuff like that. So
And
I
you're
mean,
putting a much bigger building on the site now that was there before.
Well, the picture that's here, it's kind of lined out with everything that he showed up there. And that's why I was asking why these spaces there's nothing in 269, at least from this aerial shot. So I don't think it's bigger than what was there. I'm just
It's much bigger.
trying to understand why it was allowed, the parking was allowed initially and it isn't now. Because I would say that you're probably gonna need to go back and figure all that out before, I know this is preliminary, but
Yeah, because we were
Um,
gonna do traffic.
The
Yeah.
checkerboard was there for years and
there's a
years.
lot
Yes.
more that has to happen before I think, you know, you get to this, based off of this aerial photo, so.
Fifth Ave, is that city or is that DOT?
City,
That's city?
I believe so.
So that's not Route 4? It's not Route 4?
No. Route 4 is,
I thought Route 4 was Second Avenue.
Second
Route
Avenue.
4 is second.
Don't hold me to that, but.
It is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Anyone?
Yeah, just how close is your south end of your building to the second story family house that's there? How much space is there between the house that now exists and where your building starts?
It's 8 to 10 feet.
8 to 10 feet?
Yeah, because it gradually increases because that building adjacent to us is actually kind of encroaching into the property line.
Okay, yeah, so he's taking up that whole, he's taking up all 4 of those lots.
Is the building next door set back or is it at the sidewalk of Fifth Ave?
It's set back about 5 feet.
5 feet.
Yeah, from the
not far
sidewalk.
at all. Yeah, building would be right there. It's right on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah, so the frontage of those retail units would be in line with the rest of the residential.
That's
Yeah.
what I was looking
Yeah.
at. Anyone else? Okay, well, thank you. We'll see you back here sometime, right?
Thank you.
Thanks. Is there any other business to come before the planning board tonight?
We have to accept the meeting, minutes of the meeting from last month.
Correct, yes, but
Good thing you're on.
we, we talked about this internally, as to whether or not the motion for King's Landing 2 was hitting the nail on the head. So King's Landing 2. You may wish to review the minutes further and understand if you want to adopt them next meeting or this meeting, but to that effect, to clarify for the record, I don't believe that the former motion covered all of the details of the King's Landing 2.
I wasn't here.
Yeah, so I would probably hold off on the adoption of those minutes for the moment and reach out to Randy, our commissioner. And then maybe we can redress the adoption of the minutes at the January
Is
meeting.
it a matter of it just not being properly reflected in the minutes, or it wasn't properly?
I think it was, just the wording didn't cover all the details that the applicant was before the board for.
Is that curable by changing the minutes?
I think it might, I just don't,
Yeah. all right.
I'm not really sure.
Well, is there a motion to table consideration of approval of the previous minutes to the next meeting?
Yes, we should table I move to table the approval of the minutes from the prior meeting until upon review.
Okay, thank you. A second
I second.
discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimous.
One motion left.
Oh, is there a motion to adjourn? Or do you want to stay long?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll
Second
second.
and a third. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries motion, meeting adjourned.